Well, good morning and happy birthday, Bev. 80 years old. That is awesome in a life already well lived, and you're just getting going and just having learned how to do things in life, I think. So you are continuing to add more people under your fold of loving them and supporting them and helping them. And so this little video is for you, and it actually happens to be for the guy sitting over to your left or your right or wherever Don is, but it involves both of you, and it's a story that goes back a long way in my life and tells you how important you guys both have been. And now Chandra's carrying on your legacy by her involvement in my life and the work that is my legacy and my actually my language of religion and to a God that created us. So it goes back. Let me actually show you on our table here, kind of the pictures that are my life, our story board here. And on our table is the very first house that we ever built. And the guy with all the hair, the background is actually me in probably 1979 or something around there when I was at Pepperdine. And that's the very first house we built for Alma. That's her son. That's the house we built in, I don't remember the gentleman's name now, but he had built houses in South America as part of Malibu Presbyterian Church, and Walter, am I remembering his name correct? But we built that, cut all the wood in Malibu, in Topanga Canyon, if I recall, and then put it aboard that bus, which you guys will recognize. And yes, that's me with hair again, and my dad, my real birth dad, named Montford Baum, who I actually look much more like now than I did back then. But there's the gray whale. I think that's when we ran out of gas and had to push it over the border. But that's how the first house got down. Before then it was Ben, and I apologize again, I forget his name, your neighbor who lent us his van, and Michael, who was the very first Club Dust participant, because he had nothing else to do on Saturdays, and so he would come with us. And these are some of the kids in the dump in Tijuana that we fell in love with, and for all these years I've been building for them and their neighbor, and kind of a summary of how it's been. Dirt Church is what we call it as we go down, and we are heading down actually in even just a few hours. This isn't actually a shrine to the Day of the Dead, but somehow it looks like that, doesn't it? Sierra's wedding, my daughter's singing. Yeah, so back to me, let me tell you, oh, actually, and here's the shirt we saved for you for your birthday. You'll be getting this. This is our official Club Dust t-shirt. We got one for Don and yourself that we'll be sending down. We just had to rerun a batch. Pretty cool, right? So let me tell you the story then of Club Dust, and more importantly, not so much Club Dust, but of Bev Ingram now, who years ago, and the great part of the story that I love telling so much is that it seems like 100 years ago when I was frustrated and actually quit Malibu Presbyterian because of the unwillingness to kind of put their religion into action. And when the pastor, Dale Paulson, came back from checking out what we ended up doing called Mexico, he came back from San Diego. He'd gone over the border for a day with a guy named Pastor Vaughn at a Claremont Emmanuel Baptist Church, who went down and just played with kids and washed them in the dump and such. And he came back and said, "No, I don't think that's for us. That's not all that important." And I thought, how could we possibly sit in that church overlooking Malibu Beach, the most idyllic of spots and beautiful, and not say to our neighbors just a few hours away that they are important? And so with that, I started driving down first the company car, which actually, I just saw a picture of that. There's the company Taurus with Chris Hoppel. Buddy of mine, I'm actually going to send him that, except he married a different gal. This girl missed out. We started taking down the car with beans and food and ruined the tires a couple of times. Anyways, Don ended up saying, "Why don't you just take my bus?" And so he allowed me, whatever I was, 18, 19-year-old kid, to drive the gray whale, completely illegal, I might say now, true confessions, filled with kids, liability beyond imagination, down Highway 5, across the international border and into the dump of Tijuana, carrying an entire house one time, and following then just carrying kids that would, the back of the bus was just filled with mattresses, and we looked like something between the Partridge Family and concert at Woodstock, heading down the freeway. Um, and we had those most loving days building homes and ended up delicing kids' hair in the dump and continued on from there by asking the question, what is it? Why do they live as they do? And how can we change that? And so when um, when we didn't have the support of people around us, when it didn't fit, when it wasn't acceptable, when it was too dangerous, when it didn't look neat and tidy and packaged up for the pastors of the church at that time, you two, Don and Bev, both said, no, you'll go and we'll support you. And we missions committee will pay for the gas or whatever we needed, the food, and it was off and running. And it was your saying, don't have an excuse. Don't not help because of a reason, like having a vehicle or money or encouragement of people around. And you started something that most of you, are, I'm sure through Shanja, I've heard enough stories about Club Dust where we've built over or right at 1,000 homes for families. 1,000 homes started from that very little home that you saw there back in the late 70s. By just continuing to do the same thing over and over again, as little as it is, just a house or two or five, sometimes 6, 7, 8 houses on the bigger trips, but continuing and then splitting off 12 to 15 times already, and now having a huge split actually in Santa Cruz of people going on their own, which is great, and continuing to build. But what you started is exactly what we are still doing. What you encouraged, what you, by saying this is good, this is what we want to be about, and then even beyond then, Don offering us the Ingram cabin, which we had so many board meetings, fun board meetings, family board meetings, trudging our kids up the snow before the road was built through, and I will say Sierra was conceived there as well on my 30th birthday, so we got even more there. But the giving that your family has done, I then transferred that part over to my cabin that I had there at Shaver Lake for so many years. And it was the house that people came to that was safe and welcoming, and we thanked people for coming, and we invited people to come. And they still carry that tradition on. There's still a group of people going up President Club or President's Weekend, and they rent a cabin and continue on that sense of community that in their world, or however much they can, accepting people and welcoming people in. In my world, no judgments and no having to qualify. And Club Dust has remained that way, to where if life was tough, life didn't look quite right at the time, it was always and has been always a safe place. Just like you did on Christmas Eve when we were struggling in our first years of marriage. And you would invite Robin and I over and even gave us Happy, the beautiful full-bred golden retriever, I guess, yeah, dog for Christmas one year that was so loving in our house and a big part of our early years there. Going to New Jersey and back with her, but you continually and always have given. And then for the two of you to end up finding each other, being together, being deeply in love, and being able to live the days of your life, I couldn't think of anything. Literally, it could be a movie. It could literally be the next Angelina Jolie movie, like Broken, or one that she did, or Unbroken, the movie she did about the World War II pilot. But it could be that kind of movie of the effect that you guys have had on so many people. And when you think about what the 1,000 homes have done, that's 1,000 families, that's tens of thousands, or we guess somewhere between 13 and 15,000 people have come on the trips. Continually, in fact, I'm driving in about 45 minutes and driving down, because we have so many people going, we don't have vehicles. We actually need the gray whale. I have to drive 2 hours just to go pick up a second van that will rent to us, because we're doing it legal now, to drive people down tomorrow and build 2 homes for a mother of 5 or 6 boys, Alma, who was deported, deported from her uncle's ranch in Modesto. First, the father was taken as he drove and had a tail light out in his car, and then the mom was taken from the shopping mall without notice to the rest of the family, put on a bus and taken down to Mexico. So this family that you'll see tomorrow that gets a house and 2 bunk beds, and it reminds me I have to go buy linoleum tile this morning too, we'll build for her in love of your birthday in an honor of what you started. And so I'm grateful to carry on then, just living the same way that you have, in the same way you are. And so it's the flood. A flood of memories. Water balloon launchers with oranges, water well dug for an orphanage. Out in the world, we got in the water digging business. Another well done down in southern Mexico, down in Monterey. We actually sold contracts to. We actually sold our stock, I should say, at Malibu Press in the Los Pinos water project. All that came from you guys making a decision to say this is right and we'll support it with your life, and then living your own lives as you have. And so I hope that room of love I hope it lets you know you're living a life well lived, and that we're grateful for you, and we love you. So happy birthday. Don't fall down in the snow. Enjoy God's creation, and be refreshed. Enjoy all the days of your life. We love you.